I'm Eugene Capon. You're watching Capon Design. This is an amazing tutorial that will teach you how to make your screen look like you're a hacker. Now, if you've ever seen one of those terrible 80s movies, which I completely adore, you'll know that there's always some hacker coding in DOS getting ready to take down the world with a floppy disk. Well, anyway, if you're trying to make like a 1980s retro spoof, or you want a hacker to look like he's going through the Matrix, well, this is the tutorial for you. And here's what we're going to be making today. Now, it's fast and crude and easy and very easy to make, and anybody with a small amount of After Effects knowledge can make this. And the great thing is, it requires you to get a couple of free plugins, which down and below are the links to, as well as a specific font, which, again, down in the description, there is going to be a link. So the first thing we need to do is open up After Effects. And there are a couple of layers we need to make. But first, we're going to make a brand new composition, which I'm going to call Hacker. Let's make this 1080 by 1920, which is HD. Well, 720 is technically HD, but it's slowly being considered not, which is kind of funny to me. Anyway, so the next thing we need to do is we need to make a brand new solid. And this solid needs to be a very, very dark green. The next thing we need to do is to create the scan lines. And this is really easy to make. So we're just going to go back to layer, go to new, we're going to go to solid, and I'll have the same green we just selected. And what we need to do is to move it up just a little bit so you can see the difference here. Hit OK, and now we need to make them into lines, and the way we do that is by going over to Effects, and we're going to go to Transition, and we're going to go to Venetian Blinds, and we're just going to drag it on over. And once we have that, we are going to be in our effects palette, and we're going to change it to directional 90, and we're going to put transition to 60. Now we have those amazing old Mac, old PC scan lines that you had when you were a kid, or if you were born in the 90s, your parents had. So the next thing we need to do is to create a outside. And what we're going to do is make a title action, and we are going to go up to layer, new, solid, and we want it to be completely black. And if you're wondering how I got these this guide box, the title action safe, it's down here. Just click and you'll have it go down. Well, anyway, the next thing we need to do is we need to click on the layer, the black layer that we had. We need to go up to rounded rectangle tool, and we're going to follow the outside of the guide. And it should be just around there. And we're doing this really for sizing. So go back down to your layers, and select your mask. We're going to go to subtract, and we're going to turn off this title action. Now we have a perfectly set up box. Now the only difference is computers back in the day were at a 4:3 format. Well, us today, we have a 16:9 format, which we try to follow. But that's not really a big deal. So anyway, the next thing we need is text. So you go grab your text tool. You want perfect DOS VGA 437 is the font. And again, there is a link down in the description. So I'm going to go ahead and put C run. This is a tutorial, and this can really be, you know, whatever you want. Just make it happen, or I will find you. Okay. That looks very DOSy. So the next thing I want to do is I think we need to make it glow just a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to go over to effects. Under stylized is glow. I'm going to grab it, put it onto my text. So I'm going to actually turn down the glow radius just a little bit. We'll make the threshold go up a little bit more. Has kind of that incandescent font that the computers back in the day had. Yeah, looks good. Now we just need to animate this, and it's cool if you're not an animator, because I'm going to introduce you to a plugin called Typo Minimal, and it's made by Dark Pulse Motion Design. So underneath your effects palette, we're going to type in Typo Minimal, and you are going to have to install this yourself. And you just drag and drop. And you'll notice right away the font has disappeared, and it really hasn't disappeared. It's just been put into keyframes for animation. And that's the great thing about this plugin. It's basically a preset plugin, and it's made up of a bunch of other plugins, and it sets everything for you. So if I go through the if I scrub through the timeline, you'll see that it just starts animating by itself. And depending on how fast you want your character to look like they're typing or hacking or getting a return is really up to you. And you can check all this under your reveal speed. There is a slider, and you can turn on whether or not there's a blinking cursor. So I like to have the blinking cursor. It does kind of remind me a little bit more of the 1980s, which I'm sure is before a lot of your time if you're watching this. So anyway, that's our hacker tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have something positive to say, leave a comment down below. If you have something negative to say, leave a comment down below. And I'm sure somebody from the community will be more than happy to fight you on whatever your beef is. If you learned something, hit the like button. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed and you want to keep learning After Effects, and maybe we'll do more Adobe Premiere, go ahead and subscribe. Anyway, I'm Eugene. Thank you so much for staying for this wonderful tutorial. I will see you next time.